He stood in the doorway of the RV shower, towel slung low on his hips, water already running behind him. And when he turned to look at me with that half smile and said, "You sure you don't need help figuring it out?" I stopped pretending we were just friends. We'd known each other for years. I met Jake at work back when we were both barely into our 20s. He was the loud one in the room, always cracking jokes and somehow making it look cool to not care what anyone thought. I was the quiet one, the planner, the one who booked things in advance and made sure everyone had clean forks at the barbecue. And for the past 4 years, we'd stayed in each other's lives like clockwork. Birthdays, beach trips, late-night burgers after terrible dates. The kind of friendship that wasn't complicated until suddenly it was. It started small. A too-long glance at the gym locker room, a laugh that sounded different, a hug that lingered just long enough for me to notice the way he smelled, like soap and heat and something dangerous. So when Jake bought a new RV and casually said, "We should take this baby out and get lost for a weekend," I said yes before I even asked where we were going. And now, here we were, 2 hours into the forest, parked at a quiet lakeside campground with no cell service, no distractions, and one shared bed. Hey, if you're here and feeling the vibe already, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe to support these stories and help more people find them. It means the world, and it keeps us going. Thanks for being here. The RV was beautiful, sleek on the outside, all wood paneling and soft lighting inside with built-in speakers that played our playlist on a low loop. Jake had already made himself at home, shirt off, feet up, opening beers like it was just another casual Friday. But something felt different. The way he watched me when I changed shirts, the way his fingers brushed mine when we passed a lighter, the way he looked away too fast, then looked again. After we grilled burgers and set up chairs outside, the sun dipped behind the trees and the chill set in. I stepped into the RV, saying I'd try the tiny shower stall, half joking that I'd probably break it. Jake followed me inside, arms crossed, that signature grin on his face. "You've never been in one of these?" he asked, tugging the curtain halfway open and pointing to the overhead nozzle. "They're small, but they get the job done." I raised an eyebrow. "Looks like I'll barely fit." "You'd be surprised," he said, stepping into the stall just to prove a point. His shoulders brushed both sides of the shower walls. He turned around grinning. "See? Still room for one more." I laughed, unsure if he was teasing me or not. He stepped back out, towel low, his chest still damp from earlier when we swam in the lake. He stood close, too close, as he leaned forward to adjust the temperature. "Want me to show you?" he said, his voice softer now. I froze. It wasn't the words. It was the way he said them. Low, careful, inviting. I nodded slowly. The air between us shifted. He stepped behind me, his fingers brushing the hem of my shirt. "You're really going to shower with me standing right here?" he whispered, his breath warm against my neck. I turned to face him. "I don't think you're just standing there," I said. And neither of us moved. Not yet. But everything was about to. I stepped inside the RV shower and instantly understood why Jake had smirked. The space was tight. Barely enough room for one person to turn, let alone 2 grown men. The ceiling was low, the walls curved, and the chrome fixtures hummed as hot water sprayed in a soft stream from the overhead nozzle. Steam began to rise, almost immediately, curling around my arms like fingers pulling me in. Jake hovered just outside the open curtain, still in nothing but that towel, watching me with a look I hadn't seen before. One that wasn't teasing, wasn't playful. It was focused, quiet. "I'll wait till you're done," he said, voice low, almost hesitant. I should have let him go. I should have said okay and closed the curtain and tried to keep this weekend what it was supposed to be. Easy, chill, safe. But instead, I looked at him and said, "You said there was room for one more." And in that breath between one heartbeat and the next, he dropped the towel. He stepped into the shower behind me, slow and deliberate, his body brushing mine as the curtain slid closed. The sound of the water filled the silence between us, but it didn't drown out the thump of my heart or the way my breath caught when his chest touched my back. Neither of us spoke. His hand came up, first to adjust the water pressure, then, almost without thinking, to rest against my waist. Just his palm, just his touch, barely there. And that was the moment, because I leaned into it, and he didn't pull away. Instead, his lips found the back of my neck, slow, warm, unsure, like he was testing something, like he was waiting to see if I'd break the spell. I didn't. I turned around slowly, steam rising between us like fog on a lake, and there we were, face to face, bodies almost touching, water trailing down the curves of his chest and dripping from my hair. He looked at me, and his voice cracked slightly when he said, "I've thought about this for a long time." That caught me off guard. And right where retention would normally start slipping, something real clicked into place. "You have?" I asked, my voice hoarse, heat flooding through me. He nodded, eyes flicking to my mouth. "Back when we shared that hotel bed in Austin, remember? And you rolled over and put your arm around me in your sleep?" I laughed softly. "I thought you were asleep." "I was," he said, "but it woke me up, and I never forgot how that felt." That memory hit me hard, not just because I remembered it too, but because I'd buried it on purpose. I told myself it didn't matter, that we were just friends, that there was no way he'd ever want me the way I wanted him, and now here we were, in a shower, too small for secrets. Jake leaned in again, this time slower, deeper. His lips met mine, and the moment was soft at first, like we were afraid to break each other. Then hungrier, then full of something we'd been holding back for years. Our hands found skin, hips, shoulders, lower backs. There was no space left between us, not in the shower, not in our breaths, not in our hearts. We pressed together, mouths and bodies and memory all tangled, and even as the water poured down over us, it felt like we were finally warming up after years in the cold. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine, and he whispered, "I'm scared this changes everything." "It already did," I said, "and I don't think I want to go back." We didn't talk much after the shower, not because we were avoiding it, but because the silence felt earned. It wrapped around us like a warm towel, quiet and comforting, as we dried off and moved around each other in the RV with a new kind of awareness. Like our bodies already knew the rhythm, and now our minds were trying to catch up. Jake was different. He was gentler, still goofy, still cracking jokes as he made coffee in the cramped kitchen, still tossing me that crooked grin when he caught me watching him dry off. But beneath all of that, something had shifted. There was weight behind his eyes, focus, want. I sat at the booth by the window, shirt half buttoned, watching him move, my thoughts spinning. Was this real? Or was it just a spark thrown in a tin can, hot and bright, but gone by morning? "Want to walk down to the lake?" Jake asked, tossing me a hoodie. I nodded. The air outside had cooled again, pine needles crunching beneath our feet as we followed the worn trail to the water. The lake was still, the surface catching the last gold light of the day. It looked like glass, unbothered by everything we had just done. We sat on a log near the shore, legs touching, shoulders leaning just enough to feel the weight of each other. Jake picked up a stone, turned it over in his fingers, then asked, "So what now?" My throat tightened. "You mean after the weekend?" He nodded. "Yeah." I opened my mouth to say something, maybe something brave or maybe something scared, but I didn't get the chance, because that's when we heard footsteps behind us. A guy, maybe late 20s, in a sleeveless hoodie and shorts, with a metal water bottle clipped to his backpack, walked past our spot and nodded at us casually. "Hey, nice rig," he said, gesturing toward the RV, parked just barely in view through the trees. "You guys just picked that up?" Jake replied with a friendly shrug. "Couple weeks ago?" The guy smiled, then added with a smirk, "Well, it's not just the rig that's hot." And just like that, the air changed. Jake went stiff beside me. My skin prickled. The guy didn't linger. He kept walking, earbuds already back in, but the tension in Jake's shoulders didn't fade even after the stranger disappeared down the path. I turned to him. "Do you know him?" Jake was quiet for a second too long. "Sort of. From a dating app." My stomach flipped. "Oh." "It was months ago," he said quickly, like the words might stop the chill running down my spine. "I never even met him, just messages. Swiped right, realized he lived too far away, never followed through." But I could see it. The flicker of embarrassment, of guilt. Something about seeing a piece of Jake's past walking right past us made everything between us feel suddenly exposed. Fragile. "I didn't expect him to be here," Jake added. "I forgot he even existed." I nodded, staring out at the lake. The quiet between us now different. Not warm this time, but tight. Jake reached for my hand, but I pulled mine away without meaning to. That single movement changed the energy completely. "I didn't know we were exclusive," I said, softer than I expected. "You think that's what this was? Just a hookup in a shower?" He snapped, too fast, too defensive. "No," I replied, "but I think I need to know what it was." Jake stood up, running a hand through his hair, clearly frustrated. Not at me, but at the situation, at himself, at whatever just slipped between us. "I wanted this," he said finally, "but I don't know how to do this right." "Then say that," I whispered. "Not everything has to break when it gets real." He turned to me, eyes softer now. "I don't want this to break, and neither did I." But we both knew something had cracked, even if just a little. We didn't say much on the walk back to the RV. Every footstep felt like it echoed just a little too loud in the quiet woods, like the space between us had somehow stretched. Jake kept glancing at me like he wanted to say something but didn't know how, and I wasn't ready to hand him an answer he hadn't asked for yet. The RV looked different when we returned, colder, darker, like it knew something had shifted between us. Inside, we both moved in silence. He took the right cabinet, I took the left. He changed in the bathroom. I sat on the edge of the bed, listening to the soft rattle of hangers and zippers and breath. Later, we sat by the small fire pit just outside, wrapped in separate blankets, the flames crackling between us. I brought out 2 beers. He took one, gave me a quiet thanks, and stared into the fire like it could tell him what to do next. Then, a flashlight beam cut across the trees. "Hey!" someone called out, cheerful but unfamiliar. It was the stranger from the lake. The guy from Jake's past, the one with the smirk. He walked straight into the firelight without invitation, holding a bag of marshmallows and a stick. "Didn't mean to crash the vibe. Figured you guys might want s'mores." Jake stiffened beside me. I stayed still. "Sure," Jake said finally, but his voice had no weight. Just air. The guy sat down without asking, tossed a marshmallow into the fire, and started talking like we were old friends. About travel, gear, weather, whatever. I nodded politely, but my eyes were locked on Jake. Because he wasn't saying much. And because he kept not looking at me. "So," the guy said suddenly, flashing me a playful grin. "You two together or?" The question dropped like a stone into water. Jake looked frozen. I answered before the silence got too heavy. "We're figuring things out." The guy raised an eyebrow. "Cool. Looks like it's going well." His tone had that edge again. That "I know something, you don't" grin. Jake stood up abruptly. "I'm turning in," he muttered. Without another word, he walked back toward the RV, leaving me alone with the fire and a stranger who was watching me too closely. I tossed the rest of my beer into the dirt and followed Jake inside. He was already in bed, under the covers, facing the wall. "You okay?" I asked, voice low. Silence. "I didn't like him either," I added. Still nothing. So I sat on the edge of the bed, unsure what to say, unsure what he needed to hear. After a long moment, Jake whispered, "He messaged me again last week." That hit harder than I expected. "I didn't respond," he added quickly, turning over to face me. "I swear." "But you didn't delete it either," I said. He closed his eyes, jaw tight. "I didn't think any of this was real yet." My throat burned. "And now?" "I don't want him," Jake said. "I want you. I just don't want to mess it up." "You already did," I whispered. He reached for my hand. And this time, I let him take it. Because even when something breaks, it doesn't mean it can't be rebuilt. But it has to be honest now. No more pretending. No more past shadows in the firelight. I woke up to the sound of birds and the sharp emptiness of being alone in a small bed meant for 2. Jake was gone. His hoodie was still on the hook, his hiking boots still under the bench, but the door to the RV had been left slightly open, and his side of the blanket was cold. I sat up quickly, heart already thudding in that way it does when something feels off. Not dangerous, just not right. At first I thought he might be down at the lake, or maybe he went to cool off, to breathe, after what we said last night. But then I saw the note. It was folded neatly and pinned under the coffee mug on the table, just a single piece of paper written in Jake's sharp, messy handwriting. "Ben, didn't sleep much, needed some time. Don't freak out. You'll understand soon. Check the glove compartment, J. My pulse quickened. The sun was still low. The woods outside looked peaceful, quiet, unaware. I opened the glove compartment and pulled out a folded piece of paper and a small silver key. It was a hand-drawn map leading into the forest. At the bottom, in his handwriting again, were the words, "Trust me, go alone, no phones, no questions." Everything about it was ridiculous. And yet, I put on my hoodie, slid the key into my pocket, and followed the trail. The walk took about 20 minutes. The forest was thicker than I expected. Soft moss covering fallen branches, the smell of pine sharp and grounding. My feet crunched quietly, and the deeper I went, the more the world outside seemed to vanish. And then I saw it, a small wooden lookout, tucked into a clearing I never knew existed. It looked handmade, a platform with a bench, a few candles and jars, and hanging from a tree branch above it was a photo, a printed photo of me and Jake from 2 years ago. I barely remembered it. Someone else had taken it on a trip, but in it, Jake was laughing, his arm slung around my shoulders, and I was looking up at him with this stupid grin on my face. There was something taped beneath the photo. Another note. I built this last summer. For myself, to get away, to think. But every time I came here, I thought about you. Every time, not just this week. For years. I didn't say it before because I didn't know how, but now you know. I sat down hard on the bench, the key still clutched in my hand. Beneath the bench was a locked tin box. I opened it with the key. Inside, a small envelope and a stack of old notes. Some I recognized. I'd written them on trips, in cards, left them in his kitchen years ago. He'd saved them, everyone. The envelope had one line. Still want to figure this out? I didn't even realize I was crying until I heard him walking up behind me. No footsteps, just the sound of him breathing, soft and careful. When I turned, he looked nervous, like he had just exposed every part of himself and wasn't sure if I'd laugh or walk away. "I didn't want to keep messing things up," he said quietly. "So I figured I'd finally do something that meant something." I didn't speak. I just stood, walked over to him, and kissed him. Slow, deliberate, steady. "I've been waiting for you to show up," I said. "Turns out you were there the whole time." That night felt different. After the quiet hike back from the lookout, after I tucked the notes back into the tin and Jake held my hand, the entire way to the RV, everything between us had shifted. Not in a dramatic way. It was softer now, settled, like we had pulled something painful from under the surface and let it breathe for the first time. He cooked dinner, the world's messiest skillet pasta. I set up the Bluetooth speaker and played that one playlist we used to joke about on every trip. He laughed when the third track came on, the one we always skipped, but this time we let it play. We drank beer, barefoot, and tangled on the bench cushions. We kissed a lot, not with desperation this time, but with comfort, with knowing. My head rested on his chest as his fingers traced slow lines across my spine, and for the first time since the trip started, I thought, maybe this could last. Maybe we were really doing this. We crawled into bed wrapped in each other, the air cool enough to keep us close. His voice was quiet in the dark. "I still think about that night in Austin. he said, lips near my temple. You don't even know how long I lay there pretending I was asleep. I was so scared you'd feel my heartbeat. I smiled, hand on his chest. I was just scared you'd move away. He kissed me again, warm and slow. I'm not moving away now, he whispered. But then it happened. He added something, a single, almost careless sentence. I mean, even if this doesn't work out, it was worth finding out, right? That landed like a crack in the glass. I pulled back slightly, my body stiffening. He didn't notice at first. What do you mean? I asked, trying to keep my voice even. He blinked, confused. What do I mean, what? Even if it doesn't work out, I repeated. Are you already planning for it not to? Jake sat up slightly. No, that's not what I meant. I just meant, look, I was nervous. This is new, and we've been friends forever. I'm just saying, whatever happens, I'm glad we crossed this line. I sat up fully, covers falling around my waist. So it was a line? Just something to test? He groaned, rubbing his eyes. Ben, come on, you're twisting this. No, I said, heart pounding again. You're hedging, already giving yourself an out in case this gets hard. I'm trying to be honest, he said. I don't want to screw this up. I don't know if I'm doing this right. And there it was again. The honesty that felt like a gift and a slap. We stared at each other in the dim light of the RV, breathing too loudly, too far apart in a space too small. But then Jake reached out slowly and said, I've never been in something that felt like this. I'm scared, but I'm still here, and I want you to stay. I hesitated, then took his hand and whispered, Then don't talk about the end. Not tonight. He nodded, pulled me in, held me tighter this time. No more words, just warmth. But even in that silence, I could feel the truth settling between us. This wasn't just about sex. It wasn't just about friendship. This was becoming everything. And that made it terrifying. I woke up with my head on Jake's chest, the morning sun bleeding softly through the half-cracked curtain, casting golden lines across our tangled legs. His hand was resting on my back, fingers still lightly curled, like he'd fallen asleep mid-touch and never let go. It was peaceful. So peaceful. It didn't feel real. He stirred a little as I adjusted my position and mumbled, half asleep. Still here? Yeah, I whispered, smiling into his skin. Then, knock, knock, knock. 3 sharp raps on the RV door. We both froze. He blinked awake, already frowning. You expecting anyone? No, I said immediately, heart rate climbing. We're in the middle of nowhere. He sat up slowly, hair a mess, his voice suddenly alert. Stay here. I didn't. Of course I didn't. I pulled on a hoodie, grabbed a towel just in case, and followed him as he cautiously opened the RV door. Not wide, just enough to see who it was. A woman stood there, mid-30s, tall, athletic build, sharp eyes. Jake, she said. Her voice was calm, too calm. His entire face changed. Not surprise, something deeper. Something like guilt. I stepped forward. Can we help you? She glanced at me briefly, then back to Jake. So it's true, she said. You're not even going to tell me you're here? Jake exhaled, stepping out onto the RV step. What are you doing here, Maya? I froze. Maya. He had talked about her once, his ex, the one he dated for a while and broke it off with amicably, the one who moved to the West Coast, the one he never said anything bad about. "I'm here visiting my sister," she said flatly. "She camps here every spring. We passed by your RV on a hike last night. Thought I was imagining it. Guess not." Jake didn't speak. I felt the tension like a rope pulled too tight between the three of us. She looked at me again, not cruelly, but directly. "So, is this the thing that was already starting before we ended?" Jake flinched. "Number God, no. This is new. It's real. It's not..." "Not what?" she said, arms crossed. "Not a phase? Not a reaction?" "I didn't lie to you," he said. "We ended things because we were done. I didn't know what this was until recently." She stepped back slightly, then gave a hollow laugh. "Funny. I always wondered what would finally crack you open. Guess now I know." And then she walked away. Silently. No drama. Just gone. Jake stood in the doorway for a long time after. When he turned around, his eyes were wet. Not crying, but shaken. "I didn't want that to happen like that," he said quietly. "I didn't even think she'd be here. I didn't think any of this would catch up to me." I sat down at the table. "So, what was that?" I asked carefully. "Not the past. You. What are you feeling right now?" He leaned against the counter, bare feet on the cold RV floor, hands gripping the edge of the sink like he was holding on to something that might slip away. "I'm feeling," he said slowly, "like maybe the only honest thing I've done in a long time is this. You." I didn't expect that. I didn't expect him to say it with that kind of fear or that kind of clarity. I stood and walked over to him, took his hand. "I'm not going anywhere," I said. He nodded, but didn't smile. "I just need to figure out how to stop running from things," he whispered, "even when they find me anyway." That afternoon we didn't say much. Jake packed up the firewood. I folded the blankets. The lake shimmered in the distance like nothing had happened, like we hadn't just stood face to face with someone from his past, like we hadn't cracked wide open and still managed to hold each other together. But it had happened, and we were still here. Later inside the RV, he finally turned to me, hair damp from rinsing off, wearing that same faded black t-shirt he always traveled in, the one I once called aggressively soft. He sat on the bed, arms resting on his knees. "I've never been afraid to lose a girlfriend," he said, eyes on the floor. "Not like this." I sat beside him quietly. "I used to tell myself that made me independent," he added. "But now I realize I just never picked someone who mattered enough to scare me." He looked up. "You scare the hell out of me." That kind of honesty doesn't hit all at once. It rolls in like a slow wave, soaking everything before you realize you're underwater. I reached for his hand and squeezed it gently. "I'm scared too." Jake laughed softly. "Perfect. Two cowards with a queen bed and 400 miles of pine trees behind us." We leaned into each other. And this time it wasn't about the tension or the questions or the past. It was about choosing something. Choosing each other. We spent our last night in the RV, wrapped in nothing but quiet. No music, no drinks, just the sounds of our breathing in sync and the hum of the forest outside. And in the morning, we didn't pack up quickly. We made breakfast slowly, shared it in the booth, took turns rinsing dishes, brushing against each other more than necessary, smiling without explanation. And then he looked at me, really looked. "What if I don't want to go back yet?" he said. I blinked. "Back where?" "To anything," he said. "Work, noise, people, you, me. I just want to drive. Anywhere." I paused. "You want me to come?" He gave me that half smile again, the one that started this whole thing. "No," he said. "I want you to stay." We didn't drive home that day. We didn't even map a route. We just drove. Windows cracked, sunlight streaking across the dash, music low, hearts a little steadier than they were before. And the RV, that stupid, beautiful metal box, wasn't just a camping trip anymore. It was a beginning. If you're hearing this, you made it to the end. Drop a comment that says, "We didn't drive home the same way." So we know exactly who stayed with us till the last mile. Until the next story, stay close, stay soft, and never forget the spark you felt here.